the one and the only Spencer Oliver with us live on talkSPORT. Spence, how are you, mate?
Jim, very well, thanks. Simon, how are you?
All the better for seeing you, Spencer.
Well, that would be better if you put your phone down and paid a little bit of attention then, but there's, there you go.
Really?
Oh, absolutely love that, Spencer.
I was watching the greatest hits of Spencer Oliver's career, so it was a 10-second watch.
Spencer, great to see you. We have a lot to get through in this hour. Of course, many boxing fans tuning in because they know we're going to be talking about the sport that they love. In a moment, we're going to be joined by Dan Aziz and Joshua Buatsi, of course, who go head-to-head inside the ring in a matter of days. Best of friends, but the best of enemies. That night, that is for sure. They're in separate rooms at the moment in this building, Spencer. They're not prepared to sit around with each other at this stage, which I suppose is understandable. Spencer, last Saturday night, Natasha Jonas retained her IBF welterweight title, split decision win over Mikaela Mayer in Liverpool. First off, was that the right decision, Spence?
Listen, look, it's taking away the controversy of the decisions, taken away from what a great fight that was. That's what I want to say first of all. Both girls left it all in the ring, pull it there. I thought Mikaela, on the night I scored Mikaela Mayer 96-94. I had her winning by 2 rounds, went home, watched it again, and I come up with the same result. I thought Mayer won the fight, but it's taking away from what a great fight it was. And, you can't deny, look, sometimes the boxing gods go with you. It's been against Natasha Jonas a couple of times before. Terry Harper back in 2020, I thought she won that fight. She got a controversial draw against Katie Taylor. It was another very close fight that could have gone her way. So this has gone her way, so you can't deny her that. But I thought that Mikaela Mayer won the fight.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed this already earlier on in the week, and I think it's absolutely right. I scored it the same way as Spencer. Mm-hmm. I thought some of the scoring was a little bit errant when they're scoring 97-93 to Mikaela. I make a case for Mikaela winning that fight. I could have lived with the draw. And I know that Joe Gallagher, Tasha's trainer, was very defensive and robust about it, and so I expected him to be, and he talked about the idea that you've got to rip a title away. She didn't rip a title away. I think that's nonsense. I think you win a fight and they score it properly. You don't have to go and rip it away. I gave the example of Kell Brook going to America to beat Sean Porter, and Sean Porter was the incumbent champion in his backyard. And yet Kell won the fight because the scoring was done correctly.
Yes.
And so with that in mind, it makes it a ridiculous notion that you've got to make it so unadulterated in terms of people's perspective on it that you can't not score it that
the
way.
The rounds are scored round by round, so it's not
incidental.
About
but Natasha, it was a great fight, Jim, and it depends which work you like the best. I thought the better work was Mikaela's. The heavier-handed work was Natasha's, right?
Yeah. So I thought Natasha Jonas done the eye-catching work, but Mikaela Mayer, she had the volume, and I think that was what was winning the rounds in my eyes.
Well, Spencer, Simon and I spoke with Natasha's trainer, Joe Gallagher, on Monday straight after the fight, and he was a little bit bristly with us and pushed back on us at the nature of the outcome.
Everybody should be giving her flowers this morning. Mikaela Mayer came over and she gave it a good effort, but she didn't rip the title away and she didn't win it. If you go back and sit down and look at it, who landed the cleanest shots? When Mikaela Mayer came, all right, she came forward. She landed some good shots. She won some rounds. But every time she threw, Natasha responded back. She counter-punched her. She check-hooked her with her. And everyone should be talking about what a great performance was Natasha Jonas and what an inspirational figure she is for the city of Liverpool.
You were quite intrigued by Joe's take on that.
They're two different conversations.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You don't diminish Natasha Jonas by having an alternate view that thinks that there's a case for the other fighter to win. Everybody knows Natasha is a credit to herself. You just have to listen to her, right? And a credit to her sport and the manner in which she's achieved the things and come back from adversity. So he's conflating arguments. He's taking an emotive response and saying, somehow or another, you're diminishing my girl by saying that someone else perhaps was scored in a way that you don't agree with.
Yeah.
And you'd expect it from Joe, and he makes the point that I made a moment ago, which is you've got to rip it away to be a world champion. You've got to have it scored properly.
Yes. Now, Simon's taken me very nicely to this, and Simon, keen to get your take on this as well. Have we got to the stage now, Spencer, you think there has to be a more sophisticated, is that the right word, sophisticated way of coming to a decision, the three judges? Somehow boxing's got to arrive at a more sophisticated, I'm talking about subjectivity here. I'm talking about a more realistic way and foolproof way of getting it right.
Absolutely. Listen, I totally agree with you. I think that, the judging system fouls a lot. And, you talking about people's futures and financial futures, going into these fights, winning and losing does change that hugely. So, look, I think the judging definitely needs to be looked at. I mean, they're talking about 2-minute rounds. Is that enough to determine who wins the round? Is that enough time? I go, well, listen, if you're a judge and you're a qualified judge at this sort of level, then of course 2-minute rounds should be enough. 1-minute round should be enough. You should know who wins a round and who doesn't win a round. So I think the actual judges need to be looked at. Maybe the qualifications that they need to become a judge need to be sterner.
What do you think of that, Simon?
And standardised, because we often hear the observation, it depends what you're looking for. It depends what you think is valuable. When you're looking at amateur boxing, despite the criticism and the corruption that's gone on in the Olympics, scoring punches are easily registered and easily ascertained, and that's how you win fights when you win Olympics and World Championships. When you get into the professional game, there's an element of subjectivity about what a judge thinks is aggressive, or what he thinks is a good shot, or what he thinks is a fighter taking control of a situation. So unless you're going to get into that territory and standardise it, and really standardise it and enforce it, because then you've got judges across different disciplines, across different boxing councils that are employed by different sanctioning bodies, and all of a sudden you've got this problem of standardising it when you take people from one fight to another. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, it is a difficult one. Maybe somehow reduce the human element.
This wasn't Jack
process.
Catterall, Josh Taylor, though.
No.
It wasn't in that territory.
That's exactly right.
And that's a good point to make. I thought Meyer was very, very decent in her reaction at the end, saying, amongst other things, I'm hoping Natasha feels the pressure and does what a stand-up champion would do, agree to a rematch.
Well, listen, you're talking about Natasha Jonas now. She's 39 years of age, coming up to 40 years of age. She said that this is her last year competing as a boxer, and she's looking for the big fights. She wants Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor's probably tied up with Chantel Cameron going into that trilogy fight, which sort of makes sense. Then you're looking at maybe Jessica McCaskill for a unification bout, or even stepping up and boxing someone like Clarissa Shields, where you go, now, actually, when you look at it, and what a great fight that was, and how both of those girls left it in the ring, public demand will want to see that fight again. The controversy is probably built it into a bigger fight, probably like Groves Frotch, the first fight, because of what happened there. Look at the size and the magnitude that fight ended up at. I think that public demand would, I think it would be beneficial for both girls to go over old ground, because I think financially it's going to be far more rewarding, because that was a great fight.
Who wins the second fight if it happens?
Tough.
It's a tough call. I suppose it's almost impossible to say.
It really is impossible to say, because that's why we're having this argument now. Who won the first fight? It's one of those ones, and it's like both girls come with a brilliant game plan. We knew what Michaela Mayer was going to do. We knew she's going to press forward, and the big question mark over it was, and $1 million question: would she carry the power, and would she be able to sustain it at welterweight like Natasha Jonas has? Well, the answer is yes. So she had a great work rate there, and that was going in her favour. But Natasha Jonas is a class act southpaw, class act that throws good body shots, good head shots, and they're the more eye-catching shots. So I think it's on tactics, who gets it right and who gets it wrong next time.
Simon, we're about to be joined by Dan Aziz and Joshua Boatsi.
Indeed.
They go head-to-head.
Indeed.
It's a big night for them. Saturday, the 3rd of February. The WBA World Title Final Eliminator fight between the numbers 1 and 2 world-ranked light heavyweights, and they are, in this order, Joshua Boatsi and Dan Aziz. They're out there somewhere, Simon. They're due to come in and join us in a second. Before they do, and they're in separate rooms at the moment, Spencer, because at the moment they're the best of pals, but not at the moment. Before they join us, how do you see this?
My nose tells me Boatsi. I just think there's a little bit of difference in the quality of the work between the two, but I think it's a great fight. I think Dan Aziz is a very, very capable operator, and he'll make Josh Boatsi have to have a fight. I think he'll make a more of an impression on Josh than Craig Richards did.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I think that on paper, you go Joshua Boatsi, and you look at recent, you go back in the history of boxing or their careers, and you look at that and you go, Boatsi should start the favourite, but the momentum is with Dan Aziz, and he's done it the hard way. So look, it's a fascinating contest.